Lucas and I are going to have a look around and see if the storm did any damage. You two should have a look around the house.
That's a good idea, Jack. You remember the last hurricane? We thought we were lucky, and the next time it rained, there was a mess for sure.
Hello, sister.
To make a good big horror game, aside from creating a dark atmosphere, a powerful story, and a likable protagonist, developers also realized that there is no way anything can work without a memorable, creepy, and unique antagonist. In fact, in some cases, the antagonist can basically become more popular and likable than the protagonist themselves. However, when I say likable, I don't mean it's because of their good morals. I mean it in a horror gaming way, which means that they're the most messed up, psychotic, and terrifying. Sometimes they can be straight up crazy, and they just want to see others suffer, but in other scenarios, they can also be victims of past events, and they want revenge due to their pain and anguish. You can even feel sorry for them a little bit, until you realize that they're coming for you, and that they want you to feel their pain as well. Long story short, guys, today, we're going to talk about the most memorable horror game antagonists we've ever faced in horror games of any generation. Antagonists who either have a deep, interesting personality that makes their evil blend with the story like a charm, or simply antagonists who are extremely bizarre and scary even when they don't speak a single word. However, it's worth noting that we will focus mostly on the psychopaths. So without further ado, let's start.
You knew I'm a psycho. I told you I'm a psycho. Really, I'm a psycho.
This is just for kicks.
Alan Wake is one of the most unpopular popular franchises ever. I know that it might be confusing, but this amazing survival horror game is extremely popular among a specific group of gamers. But when you take it to the broader gaming community, it's no way near the popularity of Resident Evil or Silent Hill, and that's sad to be honest. It revolves around the writer Alan Wake, who's stuck in a nightmarish realm called the Dark Place while searching for his wife, Alice. But the antagonist here is really a weird one. He's called Scratch, and physically, he's basically Alan's twin. But personality-wise, he's the complete opposite of Alan. Scratch was made to replace Alan in the real world while he is trapped in the Dark Place. But he eventually became possessed by an evil force called the Dark Presence, which turned him into a psychotic serial killer who murders people for fun. He appears in the original Alan Wake, and also in the American Nightmare installment, where his body was destroyed entirely. However, his spirit remained alive, and he came back in Alan Wake 2. Regardless of the events, Scratch's creation itself is disturbing enough. He's mainly a symbolic representation of Alan's dark side, fueled by tabloid rumors and exaggerations of his past. He embodies Alan's anger, impulsiveness, and potential for violence. When Alan's wife went missing, the media started publishing rumors that Alan killed her, and that he's actually a serial killer in disguise. This resulted in Scratch being corrupted and incredibly evil, as if he's the embodiment of those rumors. His appearance is charming and charismatic on the surface, masking a homicidal and manipulative nature. He lures victims in with his charm before brutally killing them. He is basically an antagonist that can be similar to real people like Ted Bundy, who used to also use his appearance to trick people before killing them. So Scratch definitely deserves a place on this list for being one of the biggest psychopaths in horror gaming.
Hello, Internet. You people have been talking about me. That's great. I'll catch you eventually!
Maybe. But what are you gonna do then? By then, I'll have had my hands on everything you love.
For gamers who have an admiration for the classics, the Clock Tower series is considered among the big ones for them, and even on the same level as Silent Hill at some point. The series even has one of the most popular antagonists ever, and it's called Scissorman. But since today's video is not about popular characters, but mostly about disturbing, bizarre ones, I really consider the Dark Gentleman to be the most interesting. He appears in Clock Tower 3 as a mysterious man who no one knows who he is or what he even wants. The protagonist here is 14-year-old Alyssa Hamilton, who has a troubled past and lost her father early in life after he was murdered. When she was 12, she was sent to a boarding school, and for some reason, she was told not to come back home until she's 18. During this time, her grandfather, Dick, went missing, and when she was 15 years old, she got a weird letter from her mom telling her to hide somewhere. Alyssa felt worried about the letter and decided to go home to see her mother, but she found no signs of her. The only one she can see is a mysterious, creepy man with nice clothes. And this man is none other than the Dark Gentleman. Even though he is a stranger, he somehow offers Alyssa hints and clues that can explain her mother's whereabouts.
Alyssa, Nancy's daughter. Do you know where my mother is?
Your mother has gone out. That was early yesterday morning.
Huh?
She mentioned that she would not be coming back for some time.
What?
She was wrong. She won't be coming back at all. So it's just you. You are all alone in this world now, little girl. My sweet Alyssa. I've been waiting so long for this moment.
Get away from me!
She decided to start searching for her mother, but throughout her journey, the gentleman appears from nowhere and sends chills down her spines because she doesn't even know who he is, even though he knows a lot about her. Trust me, I literally need a 3-hour video so I can explain to you clearly who this guy is and what his backstory is in this complicated game. But long story short, Alyssa here is not a normal girl, and she's from a lineage of females called the Rooters, and these young women have special abilities to communicate with the dead. There's also a dark power in the game called the Entity, which can infect people and turn them into bloodthirsty killers. These killers can absorb the victim's agony to become immortal, and now we can know who the Dark Gentleman is. He is actually Lord Darcy Burroughs, a well-known wealthy man who owned entire parts of England. When he was killed, his soul was filled with hatred and anger, which eventually possessed Alyssa's grandfather. The Dark Gentleman is basically the grandfather, but he is mainly Darcy as an entity, which is the evil force I explained earlier. Now he's hunting Alyssa because he is searching for a way to achieve immortality through a weird ritual. He is the final boss in the game, and I hope you guys got the point, because I honestly don't want to make this video too long, and I know that I can't shut up if I start diving deeper into the plot.
To become one with you, I searched and searched for 3 years, and at last I found it. In a few minutes, the clock will strike 12, announcing the arrival of your 15th birthday. Then the ritual of engagement will commence.
You gotta be inside the truth to buy it. You gotta have faith. And that's what I'm here for. To make you believe.
Outlast is a game that doesn't need an introduction. It's up there with the most iconic psychological horror games ever created. And one of the elements that contribute to its chilling story and atmosphere is the antagonist, Richard Traeger. He is a former executive for the Murkoff Corporation and also worked in the Mount Massive Asylum, but he eventually became an inhabitant of the asylum and turned into a sadistic psychopath hungry for experimenting on people. He enjoys tormenting and mutilating his victims, both physically and psychologically, and his experiments are cruel and bizarre, designed to see what humans can endure. Traeger's behavior is erratic and unpredictable. He can go from playful and seemingly helpful to violent and crazy in an instant, keeping you always confused about what the heck is going to happen with him. Unlike the other enemies here, who are mostly brainless, his psyche and mental capabilities seem to function in a highly operational manner. He understands what's happening around him, and this cognitive ability enables him to engage in strategic thinking, planning, and deceptive actions, such as luring you to a certain place.
You made the right choice here, bud.
On top of that, he is very smart and speaks very well, and this is what allows him to fool the protagonist and make him believe that he's friendly. He's really an antagonist that you can't easily forget, and his features make him stand out as a dangerous, insane figure who should never be trusted.
You know, I love the mountain air up here at night. You want to head out and take a stroll? Go ahead, I'll wait here. Go on, run free. I'm in no hurry. No? All right.
Albert Wesker is one of the most iconic and enduring villains in the Resident Evil franchise. Spanning across numerous games, his character has evolved from a seemingly minor antagonist to a global threat, always lurking in the shadows and pulling the strings. In the first Resident Evil, Wesker appears as a STARS member, seemingly working against Umbrella Corporation and helping society, before eventually revealing that he's a double agent and a traitor.
Barry, go up on the ground and wait there.
Barry.
You gotta love Barry. He must really be afraid of Umbrella.
You and Umbrella took his family.
He succeeded in doing so by being extremely good at pretending that he's a good man, and also because he's a very skilled and smart agent. Wesker desires ultimate power and seeks to dominate humanity through mutations and viruses. He is obsessed with achieving this, no matter the cost. He basically doesn't have loyalty towards anyone, and he can easily deceive even his friends to get what he wants.
That right is now mine.
He views ordinary humans as weak and believes he is made for something greater. But despite his evil features, Wesker possesses a degree of charisma, and he is very intelligent in choosing his words to manipulate others. His complex motivations and characteristics set a high bar for other antagonists in the franchise, and that's why he basically remains the most memorable one in the history of the series.
This isn't over, Chris.
I know what you crave, what you fear. Will you be able to live with yourself knowing what I'm gonna make you do? Poor little Joseph couldn't. Too bad they dragged you into this. But either way, you're mine. To do with as I please.
There's no way this list would make sense without a character from one of my favorite games of all time, The Evil Within, and I think Ruvik is a strong candidate for this video. He is more than just a terrifying monster. He's a complex character who has a tragic past and was motivated by a twisted desire. His original name is Ruben Victoriano, and he suffered immense trauma in his childhood, witnessing the death of his beloved sister Laura in a fire that was caused by locals who had problems with his rich family. This tragedy fueled his obsession with reuniting with her, even beyond death. He started participating in unethical experiments involving the STEM system, a machine able to manipulate consciousness and create a parallel reality. These experiments twisted his mind even more and fueled his descent into madness. Ruvik views the real world as flawed and seeks to create a new one within STEM, where he can control everything and be reunited with Laura. He doesn't just aim for physical harm, he also loves to mentally torment his victims. He exploits their fears, doubts, and emotional vulnerabilities to break them down and bend them to his will. The nightmarish world that the protagonist Sebastian is stuck in reflects Ruvik's evil mind. Even his sister Laura exists in this world, but as a terrifying monster that screams in pain when contacting fire, hinting at the way the real Laura died. Ruvik isn't limited to one form. He can teleport, possess others, and transform into monstrous creatures, making him an unpredictable and ever-present threat. He is also very smart, considering that he's a scientist who went mad. However, it's worth noting that his craziness didn't start when he invented this parallel world. It started even earlier when his hatred towards the world led him to murder his own parents just to claim their money and further boost his research. So, if you're searching for an antagonist who is a psychopath, serial killer, scientist, monstrous, and looks like a badass too, then Ruvik is all you're looking for.
Ruvik, it is you.
James Earl Cash, found guilty and sentenced to death, has been on death row for the past 3 years and was executed last night.
Hey, tough guy, wake up. You're not dead. Well, not yet, anyway.
Manhunt is among the most controversial video games ever made, and it's for good reasons too. One of the reasons that led to its ban in multiple countries is actually the insane mentality of its antagonist, Lionel Starkweather. When the protagonist, James Cash, gets convicted of murder and sentenced to death, somehow the execution failed, and he finds himself waking up in a room with a voice talking to him. This voice is coming from Lionel, who is a film director who makes snuff films. During his conversation with James, he offers him a deal that can make him a free man, but this offer is very bizarre and shows how sick this man is. He told James that he must be the star of one of the snuff films where he must commit increasingly violent acts for his twisted entertainment. He wants him to kill as many gang members as possible, but he also must do it in a brutal way. He believes that violence is art, and he has a desire to capture the ultimate snuff film, depicting real human suffering in various ways. His motivations and actions blur the lines between right and wrong, forcing you to question your own role in his twisted game. This is actually the reason that led to the game being banned in many countries worldwide. The mentality of the antagonist and the mission you need to accomplish feel like something too immoral, even for a video game. And to prove that he's the biggest douchebag of all time, he eventually betrayed James and ordered people to kill him and kill his family, but he ended up getting his butt kicked and killed by James. However, the other controversial thing about this game is that James also doesn't deserve praise. People forget that he was a convicted murderer who somehow got away with it. So this is basically a game with no good people.
The lunatics have taken over the asylum, Cash. The only way to reason with these gibbering idiots is with a stick and a gun. I want you to kill the hunter patrolling the tower walkway and bring his body to the guard room.
Don't you know? Your power is needed.
How should I know?
I am Claudia.
So what?
Remember me, and your true self as well. Also, that which you must become. The one who will lead us to paradise with blood-stained hands.
Sister Claudia is a recognizable character for most horror gamers in the 2000s era, and for Silent Hill fans, she's basically unforgettable. She's unique, smart, and creepy, but it also makes you confused about whether she's really evil or if she's simply a woman who misunderstands the world and believes she's on the right side. She is the main antagonist in Silent Hill 3, and physically, she appears as a young woman with blonde hair who wears simple, plain black robes and does not wear shoes. It is suggested that being barefoot is a tradition in the Order, which is the cult that she belongs to. She also doesn't have eyebrows, and this is something intentional from Silent Hill designers, by the way. The designers had many ideas when imagining her, and they initially wanted her to look like actress Julianne Moore, but they eventually decided to go with a simpler look. Anyway, regardless of her looks, Claudia's personality and mind remain her most powerful features. Despite looking friendly at first, she is also very manipulative, ruthless, and driven by a fanatical belief in her cult's twisted ideology. She is also outspoken and knows how to make others trust her, which is why she influenced many people to join the cult. However, her presence in Silent Hill 3 is both chilling and tragic because she serves as a constant reminder of Heather's dark past and the potential for hatred within herself. Her actions force Heather to confront her own mortality and the true cost of redemption, because there's a big history between the two of them, as well as Heather's father. I can't dive deep into the backstory, but there's no doubt that Claudia remains one of the most complicated characters in the entire series, and one that scares and fascinates you at the same time.
For the pain that I've caused you, I deserve no mercy. Even if it was to save mankind.
Claudia!
Now do you remember?
Yes, Evelyn. I remember.
Can we be a family like before?
No, Evie. We can't be a family. We were never a family. We will never be a family.
Then I don't need you anymore.
Whenever people talk about the scariest antagonists in Resident Evil 7, the most focus is on Marguerite and Jack, who are the main enemies that you fight and run away from all the time. However, they tend to overlook the most crazy character in the game, which is the little girl Evelyn. Despite appearing as a cute, nice child, she's actually a bioweapon created by an organization called the Connections. She took advantage of her innocent looks to infiltrate the Baker home and assert dominance over the family, who thought that she was a lost child. But things don't stop there, because she also has the ability to use the chemical substance that she was made from, which is called the mold. By using her vomit, she can infect people and control their minds and bodies. However, despite her craziness, she's basically desperate to have a family. And when she reached the Baker family's home with Mia, she thought this was the perfect chance to build the amazing family that she always wanted. She secretly manipulates Marguerite, Jack, and their son, Lucas Baker, compelling them to carry out her wishes, such as kidnapping random people to contribute to her envisioned family dynamic. The reason why Mia brought the protagonist, Ethan, to this violent place is because Evelyn wants him to be her father. Some people find it hard to decide if she is truly evil or if she's simply someone suffering from loneliness.
Does it want to be my daddy? Then he can die.
But make no mistake, she's not really a child in the first place. Eventually, you'll see her in the game as a weak old lady who can barely move because one of the side effects of the experiment that she went through was accelerated aging. She's truly a disturbing character that you never fully understand, and even when you defeat her final form in the end, you can't really know if she's gone forever or not.
Now it's Mommy's turn to kill you. be one of us. And then maybe you'll play nicely.
I'm not playing.
No! Get that away from me!
My name is not important. What is important is what I'm going to do. I just fucking hate this world and these human worms feasting on its carcass. My whole life is just cold, bitter hatred. This is the time of vengeance, and no life is worth saving. And I will put in the grave as many as I can. It's time for me to kill. And it's time for me to die.
This is the only one on the list who is both the protagonist and the antagonist at the same time. He is the epitome of psychotic behavior, and his mission in the game is as disturbing as his personality. He is so insane to the extent he doesn't even care about having a name. His name is literally not important, and his only purpose in life is to make other people suffer. He is a violent sociopath who's known for his intense disdain and contempt for humanity in general. He displays no emotion except for profound hatred, anger, and a disturbing enjoyment derived from the act of murder. His ultimate goal in the game is to kill as many people as he can before his own death. Nothing is known about his background or why he became an insane mass murderer, but we definitely know why this game became so controversial, and rightfully so. After its release, it was featured in American local news, where police officers expressed their concerns about its content. The gameplay includes many sequences where the killer shoots at cops and hunts them down. And real cops obviously see this as something that might influence regular people who play the game. The game was also banned in several countries worldwide due to the nature of the story, which revolves entirely around hatred and unreasonable violence. Multiple reports claim that the developer made this game as a response to political correctness in the gaming industry and the campaign that says video games promote violence. But he basically ended up proving those people right by crafting this weirdly disturbing experience, which I advise anyone with mental issues to stay away from. Regardless of the reasons behind it, the main character here is the craziest someone can get in a game.
Something's telling me at the next station there's a nice bloodbath. I mean, there will be.
Before we go to the last one on the list, I need to talk about two honorable mentions. The first one is Stefano from The Evil Within 2. Stefano was once a war photographer, but he went through a harrowing transformation after losing an eye while documenting the brutalities of conflict. His descent into madness started when he captured on film the exact moment a person before him was torn apart by an explosion that claimed his own eye. This made him obsessed with these haunting images until he began to believe that the only beauty in life is when you see the moment when people die.
Blood is my paint, and this world is the canvas. My name is Stefano Valentini, and art is in the eye of the beholder.
The second one I wanted to mention is a little bit unpopular because he's not a major antagonist, even though he's insanely evil and twisted. He is Lucas Baker in Resident Evil 7. When we talked about Evelyn earlier, I mentioned that she used to control him along with his family to carry out kidnappings and killings for her, but the surprising part is that Lucas was never actually under Evelyn's control in the first place. The organization that created Evelyn gave him a serum that could make him immune, and this basically means that he was committing all the murders and heinous acts willingly. He is the ultimate psychopath in this game, and he already used to lure people into deadly experiments in the name of science. He even wanted to betray the organization at some point and take Evelyn for his own evil goals.
It has taken me weeks to finish this, and it is finally ready. And it's all for you!
Even though there's no specific order for this list, I personally would choose this guy for the #1 spot in any list due to my bias for this game and the story here. Walter Sullivan is an antagonist like no other in the Silent Hill series, because you can see him in two completely different forms that contradict each other. You can see him as a young, innocent child, and here you can learn about his tragic story. Walter was born to unknown parents who left him in apartment room 302 and were never seen again. He was found by Frank Sunderland, who was a resident of the apartment building, and Frank made sure to take him to a hospital nearby. Authorities then took him to an orphanage, and from this point on, the transformation in his personality began because this orphanage was run by the Order, which is the same cult that Claudia Wolf belongs to. The cult taught him that the world is full of evil and corruption, and it needs purification. He believed this idea even more when he started suffering from abuse by the people around him. He was also very attached to his mom, despite never seeing her.
But soon I'll get to see my mom.
Do you know where she is now?
Yeah, of course. Right where I was born. Lots of people tried to stop me, but it's fine now. It says in the scriptures that I'll be with her. I gotta hurry. Mom's waiting.
He was very desperate to unite with her, to the extent that he considered room 302 his own mother. But sadly, things took a twist as he got older. Eventually, he decided that the only way to see his mom was to fulfill a ritual called the 21 Sacraments. He turned into a serial killer and began committing grisly murders of 21 people, marking numbers on their bodies, hinting at the order of the killings. He killed innocent people who lived in the area, including a Hispanic woman called Cynthia Velasquez and a guy called Jasper, who used to live with him in the orphanage. His actions stem from a childhood filled with pain, indoctrination, and trauma, leaving him with a twisted view of the world and a desire for purification through sacrifice. The innocent kid who couldn't kill a fly during his childhood became a ruthless psychopath who desperately wants to reunite with a mother that he doesn't even know.
It's time to complete the 21 Sacraments.
And the most tragic part is that this hope of reunion is only in his head. He can never see his mother again, and his ritual doesn't lead to any happy outcome for him. This ritual is just a fake hope his mind wanted to believe in and pursue out of sadness and despair. Usually, in most Silent Hill games, the protagonist is the one who's haunted by hallucinations and mental pain, but in Silent Hill 4, the antagonist is basically the one who suffers the most anguish and hopelessness. He's the one with a tragic past, a deadly present, and no future. In this game, there are happy endings for the protagonist Henry, but there are 0 happy endings for Walter. He faces the end he deserves for his crimes and murders, but he is also the only evil person on this list that makes you understand why he went insane and why it makes sense. Anyway guys, this video is getting too long. Give it a like if you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one.